Henry III's early reign, governance, reforms, religious devotion, and policies towards Jews in England. Henry III, 1216 to 1272, exemplifies the intricate challenges of medieval kingship, as his reign oscillated between efforts to reinforce monarchical authority and adherence to constitutional limitations. His approach to governance, patronage of cultural and architectural advancements, deep religious commitment, and contentious policies towards Jews reveal a ruler attempting to balance tradition, innovation, and political necessity. Let's explore these dimensions of his reign, providing insight into his influence on England's political, social, and cultural trajectory. Centralization of royal power. Henry III sought to consolidate royal authority by reducing the influence of traditional state offices and establishing a streamlined royal council. This approach allowed for more direct control over governance but frequently clashed with the barons' entrenched privileges. While Henry's administration emphasized royal prerogative, he remained bound by constitutional constraints, particularly the Magna Carta, which was repeatedly reaffirmed during his reign. These reaffirmations reflected his need to secure baronial and popular support while navigating the limitations imposed by the charters. The Provisions of Oxford, 1258, marked a turning point in Henry's reign, as baronial discontent culminated in reforms that sought to curtail royal authority through the establishment of a council to oversee governance. Although Henry initially accepted these terms, his later attempts to circumvent them led to the Second Barons' War. The conflict reached a climax at the Battle of Lewes in 1264, where Henry was captured. Simon de Montfort, the leader of the barons, temporarily implemented a form of constitutional monarchy that included representatives from counties and boroughs, a significant step towards parliamentary governance. Following his son Edward's victory at the Battle of Evesham in 1265, royal authority was restored, but the foundations for England's evolving political system had been irrevocably laid. Henry's judicial and military reforms further highlight his efforts to centralize power. By appointing royal justices to oversee local courts, he aimed to standardize legal practices, reduce corruption, and enhance royal influence. However, these initiatives often alienated local elites accustomed to judicial autonomy. Similarly, his attempts to professionalize the military by establishing permanent garrisons and logistical frameworks faced significant obstacles, including financial constraints and the inefficiencies of the feudal system. Additionally, Henry attempted to expand the scope of royal taxation, leveraging the growing economic activities in urban centers to enhance revenue streams. Architectural and artistic patronage. Henry III's reign is renowned for its cultural and architectural legacy, particularly his ambitious reconstruction of Westminster Abbey. Inspired by the French Gothic style, the project reflected his desire to position England as a center of religious and artistic excellence. The Abbey's redesign incorporated a shrine to Edward the Confessor, linking Henry's rule to the legacy of the revered Anglo-Saxon king and reinforcing the divine legitimacy of his monarchy. Henry's architectural investments extended beyond Westminster Abbey. He allocated substantial resources to the fortification of royal castles, including the Tower of London, ensuring both their defensive utility and their symbolic role as manifestations of royal power. These projects were complemented by his patronage of the visual arts, which included commissioning illuminated manuscripts, religious sculptures, and intricate paintings. The Westminster Psalter, a richly decorated manuscript, epitomizes his blending of piety and royal propaganda. This era of artistic flourishing also benefited from the integration of European artisans into England's cultural landscape. Craftsmen from France and Italy introduced innovative techniques, fostering an architectural synthesis that blended traditional English styles with continental influences. Henry's patronage thus not only enhanced his personal prestige but also contributed to the broader cultural enrichment of medieval England. The impact of Henry's architectural and artistic endeavors also extended into the realm of education and intellectual development. His support for universities and monastic schools fostered an environment where theology, philosophy, and the arts could thrive. This period saw an increased production of religious manuscripts and translations, reflecting the interplay between artistic expression and scholarly pursuits. Monetary reforms. Economic stability was a priority for Henry III, as demonstrated by his efforts to reform England's coinage. In 1247, he introduced the long cross silver penny, designed to deter counterfeiting and improve the reliability of currency. The coin's distinctive design, featuring a cross that extended to the edges, made it more challenging to clip, a common form of fraud in medieval economies. Henry's attempt to introduce gold pennies represented an even more ambitious endeavor. While gold coinage was gaining traction in Mediterranean economies, its implementation in England faced practical challenges, including high production costs and limited acceptance among merchants. Ultimately, the initiative was abandoned, but it underscored Henry's recognition of the importance of aligning England's monetary system with broader European trends. These monetary reforms had significant implications for trade, both domestically and internationally. By enhancing the stability of England's currency, Henry facilitated commerce with key trading partners in Flanders, France, and the German principalities. Although the reforms were not without difficulties, they laid the groundwork for subsequent developments in England's financial infrastructure. The increased reliability of the coinage also contributed to the expansion of market towns and facilitated the growth of the merchant class. Religious devotion and policy. Henry III's profound religious devotion permeated his reign. A daily participant in Mass and a patron of numerous monastic institutions, he viewed his role as king as inherently tied to the divine order. This devotion was evident in his architectural projects, his collection of holy relics, and his public displays of piety. Westminster Abbey, reimagined as a spiritual and national landmark, symbolized Henry's commitment to religious expression. The inclusion of relics such as a fragment of the True Cross further elevated the abbey's status as a center of worship and pilgrimage. Beyond architecture, Henry supported the establishment of schools and universities, recognizing the value of education in advancing Christian scholarship and administrative efficiency. Henry's relationship with the papacy was another defining feature of his religious policy. While his alignment with papal interests bolstered his legitimacy, it also strained relations with domestic clergy and nobility, particularly when papal demands for financial contributions conflicted with local priorities. Nevertheless, Henry's patronage of religious scholars and his incorporation of canon law into secular governance reflected his commitment to integrating spiritual principles into the administration of the kingdom. Additionally, Henry's policies fostered the growth of ecclesiastical infrastructure across England. New churches, abbeys, and convents were established, providing spiritual support and serving as centers for community life. These developments reinforced the centrality of religion in daily life while also strengthening the Church's political and economic influence. Policies towards Jews. Henry III's policies towards Jews underwent a marked shift during his reign, transitioning from protection to persecution. Initially, he viewed Jewish communities as valuable economic assets, deriving significant revenue from their taxation. However, as financial pressures mounted, he imposed increasingly onerous taxes and restrictions, contributing to the economic marginalization of Jews. The Statute of Jewry, 1253, institutionalized anti-Semitic practices, mandating the wearing of identifying badges and restricting synagogue construction. These measures reflected broader societal prejudices and reinforced the segregation of Jewish populations. While partially motivated by fiscal considerations, these policies were also informed by religious ideology, as Henry sought to align his governance with prevailing Christian norms. The repercussions of Henry's policies extended beyond the Jewish community, as the economic decline of this group weakened the broader financial stability of the kingdom. Additionally, the institutionalized discrimination established a precedent for subsequent monarchs, culminating in the expulsion of Jews from England under Edward I in 1290. These policies also disrupted local economies, as Jewish financiers and merchants had played pivotal roles in facilitating trade and investment. Parliamentary developments. Henry III's reign witnessed significant advancements in the development of parliamentary governance. Initially convened to secure approval for taxation, these assemblies gradually expanded to include representatives from counties and boroughs, reflecting a broader base of political participation. The inclusion of knights and burgesses marked a turning point in England's political evolution, as it laid the groundwork for the emergence of the House of Commons. While these early parliaments primarily served the king's fiscal needs, they also provided a platform for addressing grievances and negotiating policy, fostering a nascent culture of accountability and representation. Over time, the procedural developments during Henry's reign contributed to the evolution of Parliament as a cornerstone of English governance. Cultural and social transformations. The social and cultural landscape of England evolved considerably during Henry III's reign. Agricultural advancements, including the adoption of new crop rotation techniques, contributed to increased productivity and population growth. Simultaneously, the expansion of urban centers and the rise of merchant guilds signaled a shift towards a more diversified economy. Cultural exchanges with continental Europe enriched England's artistic and intellectual traditions. The influence of French literature and courtly ideals permeated English society, while innovations in architecture and craftsmanship reflected the dynamic interplay between local and foreign elements. These transformations underscored the interconnectedness of medieval Europe and the gradual emergence of a more cosmopolitan English identity. Educational reforms also played a significant role in shaping the era's intellectual climate. Henry's patronage of universities and monastic schools fostered the development of a learned elite capable of addressing the administrative and spiritual needs of the kingdom. This emphasis on education contributed to the growth of a bureaucracy that would underpin governance in subsequent centuries. Legacy. Henry III's reign was marked by both achievements and challenges, reflecting the complexities of medieval kingship. His architectural and cultural contributions left an indelible mark on England's heritage, while his governance reforms laid the foundation for the constitutional development of later centuries. However, his financial mismanagement, contentious policies, and reliance on papal support often alienated key stakeholders, limiting the effectiveness of his rule. Despite these shortcomings, Henry's reign represents a pivotal period in English history. By navigating the tensions between tradition and innovation, he helped shape the political, social, and cultural contours of a kingdom transitioning towards a more modern era. His legacy endures in the structures he built, the reforms he initiated, and the challenges he faced in uniting a diverse and evolving society. Thanks for listening. Like, comment, and subscribe to Medieval Chronicles 1066 for more journeys back to the Middle Ages. Stay curious.